Afawabaranda, mwe umfokulira kwa bantu. Kazama yuti bose batinda be abakulu n'abana. Bose bashitata n'abana bayo banelirawe Mwamba. Kazama ile fire iwe wilewe boheshi Mwamba. Leader experience olankane wabomba Mwamba Emmanuel. Bose bakasama wale fire Mwamba Emmanuel. Wakasama wale fire Mwamba Emmanuel. Wakasama wakulira tule fire Mwamba wesu Emmanuel. Chipande ni PF tule fire Mwamba wesu Emmanuel. Wakuito uwele Emmanuel Mwamba Mbasata Emmanuel. Wale fire Emmanuel Mwamba Mbasata Emmanuel. Wakasama wakulira
the procurement of fertilizer for the 2022-2023 farming season and the sale and export of maize by the Food Reserve Agency. On 16th March 2023, the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Mutolo Phiri, announced to Parliament through a ministerial statement that the distribution of fertilizer will start soon. He outlined that government will procure the fertilizer in two methods. They will use the international open bid and they will also use the direct bidding, popularly known as single sourcing. They are purchasing about 241,000 metric tons of fertilizer. We have raised concern on the use of direct bidding. The minister stated that they will give United Capital Fertilizers 77,000 metric tons and NCZ will purchase 43,000 metric tons. They've also stated for the other urea, the top dressing, it will be procured through an open bid. We have objected to the use of the direct bidding method because, first of all, we have adequate time. The farming season is months away. Even when they want to do an early distribution, they still have time to do a proper competitive process and not use direct bidding methods. What is our concern? Number one, they've left out another company that manufactures fertilizer locally. We saw when the president cancelled the tender and announced a few weeks ago that he had cancelled the tender, that he was doing positive discrimination for local companies. If you are doing positive discrimination, it should encompass the local companies. Why has one manufacturer of fertilizer been left out? Honorable Mutolo Phiri stated that United Capital Fertilizers had been given this huge amount of 77,000 metric tons because they wanted to support the new company and that it should create jobs. Well, if they are serious about creating jobs, they should bother about NCZ. Kafue is literally a dead town. And why give it a paltry 43,000 metric tons to manufacture? We think that the bulk of compound D should have gone to NCZ, not to a private company as they've done. And if they are about promoting local jobs in the local economy, the other company that manufactures fertilizer could not have been left out. We have seen that the fertilizer procurement has been plagued by corruption, where friends of the party, friends of the president have invaded the space, and the use of this single sourcing method called direct bidding is used. Don't be mistaken, direct bidding is among the 13 procurement methods allowed by the Public Procurement Act. It is allowed, but there are provisions under which you can use direct bidding method. And these are, for example, It has to be in emergent situations where you don't have time, dramatic emergent situations, and in cases where such a product doesn't exist locally. All these conditions that are provided for under direct bidding do not apply to this tender that the minister has issued for the supply, delivery, warehouse, and distribution of fertilizer for the 2022-2023 farming season. Another matter of concern is the sale and export of maize. We've been talking about this, and this government has been issuing obscure statements. They haven't really come to the fore about the export of maize to regional countries. We have now understood, we have seen documents that 126 companies paid for the maize when food reserve agencies issued a call for people to buy maize under their maize sales program for 2022 in December. And these 126 companies paid the required deposit, when they received the offers of letter, because you are required to pay up to 50%. They paid. And now FRA is failing to give the 126 companies. We've also learned that among these companies that the Tanzanian government bought the maize using Zambian local companies, traders and transporters. And they recently wrote to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs demanding that FRA must release this maize. I think it was about over 6,000 metric tons, and 12 companies were contracted by the Tanzanian government. To this effect, Ministry of Agriculture Permanent Secretary has since directed the Food Reserve Agency to release these almost 6,000 metric tons of maize to these 12 companies that should take it to Tanzania. Our concern is that all these processes are occurring without information. You have to discover the facts. Documents have to be brought to you to understand what is happening with this government. The procurement of fertilizer is obscure, it's not transparent. This government is not being accountable. It has perpetuated the obscurity that affected the fertilizer purchase last year, and it has gone over onto this season. We call upon government to immediately make full disclosures, including the maize that they are selling to, for exports. We have shortages everywhere. You've seen those queues in Kasumbalesa, in Nakonde, in Ndola, in Chipata. You have seen the queues for mealie meal, and the price of mealie meal keeps on skyrocketing. And government keeps on telling us that we have adequate maize, we have adequate stocks. Are the stocks being given to you by FRA, those numbers? Who has audited them? Are they true? You directed that over 250,000 metric tons should be released to millers, yet we have a mealie meal shortage. It tells you that the numbers are not right. Someone is not telling the truth. And the export of maize continues to be done in an obscure fashion. These companies that paid for the maize in December, the maize is not being released, but new companies, apparently arranged through Ministry of Agriculture, are coming to the fore and picking that maize for export. It is this lack of transparency that raises these corruption allegations. So, as we wind up, corruption allegations at Ministry of Agriculture. One, they are not using open, transparent processes. Number two, they've favored a particular Chinese company for the fertilizer. They've given it the large bulk of procurement. And they've left out another manufacturer of fertilizer in this country. And they've given, I think for sure, NCZ, which we need to repair, we need to rehabilitate. And Zambians should know that NCZ requires about $30 to $50 million to bring the plant to its full production capacity. Every year, we are spending over $300 million in buying fertilizer. Why can't we repair NCZ? Why do we do things like that? For the sale of maize, the 126 companies paid you FRA at your own request. You issued this request that you wanted to sell maize, and they responded, and you've had their money since December. What have you done about it? Release that maize. Did it have to take the Tanzanian government to plead for these 12 companies for you to release the maize? So, ladies and gentlemen, it's our country. Thank you for listening and for watching. Let's wait for another issue on the brief as we tackle and discuss a matter of national importance. God bless you. God bless our country. See you next time.
Mwamba Emmanuel, Mwamba Emmanuel.